Please be seated. The title of my sermon this evening is Chasing the Norman Rockwell Christmas, drawn from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 2, verse 12. You will find a child wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger. Located on the edge of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, the Norman Rockwell Museum sits next to the painter's homestead among the fields and trees of western New England. Visitors find the low, modern building down a long path from a large parking area. Inside, Rockwell's life comes alive in his paintings and cover illustrations for the Saturday Evening Post. He was a prolific painter, so his works line wall after wall of the museum's numerous rooms. Rockwell's work found its way into most of American life. He created advertisements. He illustrated for the Boy Scouts of America. Most notably, he had a 5-decade relationship with the Saturday Evening Post. Even though his work was often playful, he took to social commentary and myth-making. He created a vision of American life and culture that was heroic and aspirational. He created an image of the American ideal. Although his realism was influenced by the quaint small town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, the world he created was not real. Even if his illustrations captured the emotions of people and created a heartfelt sentiment, his images were imagined. Although he stirred hearts to long for the best of life, his illustrations were glimpses into a varnished and polished world, not reality. He captured hearts by creating myths, but myths have false bottoms, and they are pitfalls and dead ends. When Joseph left Nazareth with his fiancée Mary to fulfill the edict of the emperor, they felt as if they had come to a dead end. Mary was pregnant, and Joseph was not the father. Mary told him about the angel, but he thought she was imagining things. A miraculous conception? He shook his head, certain that could not be true. Not until he had his own dream, one so real, one so convincingly true, one so undeniable and genuine, did he change his mind. He awoke a changed person. Growing in her was a prophet, a holy child. He didn't tell his family that. He could barely understand the reality of it all, but instead of dismissing her, he assured his family and hers that he and Mary would wed. But then the emperor's decree came. A centurion announced it in the market square on the day before the Sabbath. Everyone had to be counted. Counted, he thought. I'm just a number, just a curiosity for the leader of the world. The wedding had to wait, but in truth, Mary's pregnancy was an uncomfortable sight for all. She was unwed. It was a scandal. He couldn't tell his neighbors or his friends that in her belly, growing inside of her, was the Son of God. No one would believe him, and just saying it would put Mary at risk. No, the wedding had to wait. the emperor needed his number. Norman Rockwell's illustrations created a better view of life than the one portrayed in the Gospel of Luke. The account of Joseph traveling with Mary does not portray a playful world, nor a world of freedom. Luke tells us of a story of occupying powers, demanding rulers, and a man and woman traveling far from home at a time when they needed a home. But there's more to Luke's story. The account of Mary and Joseph is not one of darkness, gloom, and desperation. It is a story of hope. It is a story of love. It is a story of God. Despite the dangers of traveling far from home, despite the worry creased across Joseph's face, despite the only place for them was in a stable, Mary bore a child. I'm telling you, the innkeeper did not have a wife. What mother would force a pregnant young woman to have her first baby in an animal stall? She gave birth to a healthy baby boy. She wrapped him in swaddling clothes and pondered their future. In Luke's account of Jesus' birth, we find God. We find the power of God. We find the hope of God. No matter how dark the world, God's light shines. No matter how difficult the situation, God shows us the way. No matter how many dead ends and pitfalls, God will illumine our path. The story we Christians celebrate tonight is not a myth. It is not a dream. It is not someone's imagination. It is real. It is true. It is genuine. We gather here this evening to mark a change in the world. It begins in a manger in a small town under the control of the greatest power the world had ever seen. But the emperor's power was not God's. On Christmas, God exercised his power so great that a single birth would change the world. A baby born in a lonely, lowly manger would tear down the injustices of the world and crush evil. The image of Norman Rockwell's Christmas is a myth. It is like trying to grasp smoke or steam. Before we know it, the image is gone. Even though it seems so real, so lifelike, a picture of the perfect Christmas around the hearth and tree with presents strewn around in a peaceful, bucolic setting is merely an illustration of a talented artist's imagination. Christmas is here. Christmas is here. Christmas is here. It is God speaking to our hearts, saying, have hope, have love, have joy. Christmas has arrived. Let it seep into your hearts. Christmas has arrived. Let it pour into your souls. Christmas has arrived. Be in God's joy, hope, and love.